The Big 12. When you think about, all right, I'm Brett Yormark. Here's what I have to do, and I have to do it now. What does he do Monday, December 18th?
Whatever he's been doing, whatever he's been preparing for. I think right now you are in a kind of a sit and watch mode, and he's prepared to do that. I mean, that's what he did with the Pac, right? Like, he was building relationships, talk to those schools. If he has to go through Phillips to do that, you get yourself prepared. You look at what you can do and what you can offer, because if this all starts to happen here early this coming year, you got to be there and you got to be ready, and you got to show that you're prepared for this and you know what's going on. So just be ready. That's it.
Why not play the offensive? That seems like more of a defensive, or you talk about sit and wait. Why not play a very offensive approach here?
Because right now, I mean, I don't know what help that could do, except with getting enough schools okay with leaving, that some kind of across the board agreement happens in the ACC, like a proper price. Like, if it's just Florida State leaving, the price is probably much higher. But if it's half the conference and you're the schools who are going to be left behind, you want them all to go at once. Because say I'm Louisville and I'm thinking about joining the Big 12. Yeah. I might wait till the first ones that are leaving go, collect exit money, and then use that money to leave later after ESPN is renegotiated and it's a whole new contract, because that exit cost is probably going to be much less. So basically, anyone who sticks around longer could just collect money for their own exit. If I'm staying there for the long haul, if I'm one of the ACC schools that has to stay, I want everyone out at once. Yeah. And that means it's probably going to have to be a lower price than what most people think. But then none of that money gets shared with schools that are just going to be leaving later. So that's what I would do, is I would get those schools to understand that it's a good spot to go to, so that everyone wants to go at once.
Give me, how do you avoid tampering there? What are the legalities you have to stake? Because you talk about Brett Yormark almost seasoning these schools to be ready.
Yeah, I think what has to happen, and maybe that's where this rumor comes in, that the conferences are talking to each other, is if, say, Phillips at the ACC knows something's going to happen, they're just going to get this worked out. And if the conference commissioners are talking, then there's no tampering. If they were coming in quietly and talking to schools, which happens. So I kind of think the whole tampering and interference worries of the past seem to have been tossed aside for whatever reason. But, if this is going on there's probably talking between the ACC and the Big 12 on high and in between schools. So, I don't know if I would necessarily worry too much about the tampering.
I'll ask you to be predictive with this one. In 2 years, do you see the Big 12 sitting with the same 16 teams it has?
No.
How do you see it different?
At least 20, but it could actually go beyond. I think the Big 10 and the SEC go to 20, but because of that lower pay, I think the Big 12 could actually go beyond 20 sooner than them.
Should the Big 12 go to 20 plus?
If the opportunity is right, if their business partners, are willing to pay for it up front in order to get schools in, because if you leave schools out, they get damaged. That was part of the thing with Washington and Oregon to the Big Ten. The Big Ten didn't really want to do it that early, but if they were to leave them out hanging to dry, those schools get damaged in the process. And so now your future conference mate is damaged goods coming in. So you don't want to leave folks sitting out to dry damaged. It costs the athletic department. People get fired. People, it's just not good. So if there is going to be a future, you don't want to leave them hanging out to dry before that.
And let's put her here. In that view, in 2 years, if you had to say yes or no today, Washington State and Oregon State are a part of that 20 plus for the Big 12. Do you sit? Where do you sit?
60-40. Yes.
60-40. Yes.
That's just, and maybe more than that.
Yeah.
But it's just, I don't think they're going to be the first ones. So it's going to be tough for those folks. It's already been tough. Yeah. They're a pretty tough group of people who have gone through that. But I don't think that you don't know what's going to be available to you from the East. Yeah. So you have to keep as much space available for that. And if you take the 2 from the West before that, you start to, maybe limit yourself in what you can do. So I do think eventually, I think the value is there. But we'll see. Yeah, I'm hopeful.
When it comes to the work that you do in expansion research, which I love how humble you don't call it research, you call it reading. It is research. Where can folks find your takes more often?
As you have on here, I'm an Immaculate View on Twitter. I don't go around to a whole lot of different places. I don't like to divide up my time.
Yeah.
So, I'm on Twitter through that, and also with the guys on Big 12 Mafia. They have me on their show. And then on occasion, you might find me on Locked On with Drake Toll.
I love it. I try to stay in. I like the day-to-day stuff, talking about bowl games and teams and whatnot. But man, when something breaks, there's one call, and it's, again, I gave them your real name earlier in the show, and I feel like now there's like a red laser pointed at you because people they're coming for you.
Yeah, we'll see.
Thank you so much for doing this, as always, Immaculate.
Always good to talk to you, buddy.
Follow him at Immaculate View on Twitter, and follow along the rest of this week as we continue to break down not just expansion, but bowl games and Texas Tech and everybody. This has been and always will be. Thanks for making it your first listen every single day. Locked On. Thanks again for making it your first listen every day. Dose Grande.